Hello everyone! Today we are going to talk about past perfect. So in today's lesson, we'll answer the following questions. What is the past perfect tense? When do we use the past perfect tense? So first, I want you to look at these two sentences in the past and find the difference between them. First, when I arrived, she left. When I arrived, she had left. So when we say, when I arrived, she left, we mean that I arrived first, then she left. While in sentence, when I arrived, she had left, we mean that first she left and then I arrived. In English, we use the past perfect to express an action in a past that took place before another action in the past. So, in other words, the past perfect describes the action in the past. For example, the train left at 9 a.m. We arrived at 9:15 a.m. So, when we arrived, the train had left. Gotcha? So, the past perfect is also used to talk about the past action that ended before another action or time in the past, using the preposition like before and after. Basically, we use the past perfect to describe the first action in the past, and we use the past simple to describe the second action in the past. For instance, the film had started before we arrived. And if you want to show the cause of the past action, then we have to use the past perfect as well. For example, I was tired on Monday because I hadn't slept well the night before. To build a sentence in the past perfect, we need to use the time expressions such as when, after, before, as soon as, by the time, by, and until. For example, by the time I got home, my mother had already prepared dinner. If you're going to use the time expression after, in a present perfect tense, then it's important to put it between past simple and past perfect to show that the action in past simple happened after the action in the past perfect. As an example, let's look at the sentence. He came to my house after I had already left. Now, can you tell me which of these two sentences in the past happened first in this following sentence? He passed the test because he had studied a lot the day before. Now, let's check the answer. As you can see, the sentence in the past perfect, he had studied a lot the day before, happened first. And then the sentence in past simple, he passed the test, in a second event in the past. This sentence is an example of using the past perfect to show the cause of the past action. So, in this sentence, past perfect is showing the reason why he passed the test. So, with the help of the time expressions like by, the sentence like by 2008 or 2008, he had moved house. shows that the sentence in the past perfect, they had moved house, took place before time in the past, which is 2008. Look, so yeah, it means that it shows that the sentence in past perfect, they had moved house, took place before the time in the past, which is 2008. So, to form an affirmative sentence, we need first, we need to start off with the subject plus the auxiliary verb had followed by the past participle form of the main verb. For example, Mary had cleaned their room by 7 o'clock. To ask a question in past perfect, we need to put the auxiliary verb had at the beginning of the sentence, right before the subject and the past participle form of the main verb. As an example, we can ask the following questions. Had Mary cleaned the room by 7 o'clock? The negative form of the past perfect is subject plus the auxiliary verb had plus the negative word not followed by the past participle form of the main verb. We can also contract the auxiliary verb in the negative sentence, had not to hadn't. For instance, Mary hadn't cleaned the room by 7 o'clock. Okay. So, to describe an action in the past perfect that took place before time in the past, we use the prepositions like preposition by, such as like by 2 o'clock, by noon, by Saturday, by the 15th of September, by then, by that time, by the end of the day. Yeah, many. So let's look at the time expressions in the context with the past perfect. Okay? So by 6 o'clock on Sunday, I had already learned all the words. By the end of the year, he had learned to speak French. She had written only 2 letters by noon. Okay, pronunciation. It's important to know how to pronounce contractions in the auxiliary verb of past perfect. Past perfect had. So, in affirmative and negative and interrogative sentences, for example, in a sentence like I'd met her before, I'd is a short form of I had, which should be pronounced like I'd. Similarly, in a sentence, she'd been in Italy, she is a short form of she had. When it comes to negative sentence, they hadn't finished. Hadn't is a short form of the had not, and we pronounce it hadn't, which schwa sound in between. Regarding question, had he done the test before? The auxiliary verb had plus the subject he are pronounced together. Had he. So before we start practicing what we have learned today, let's look at some examples. Okay? So here example sentences with past perfect. I had read a book before my mom came home. Next one. a boy had become sunburned by 2 o'clock. All right, now it's time to practice the past perfect. In this exercise, you are asked to put the verbs in the brackets into past perfect tense. In this, okay, so I want you to do this exercise, pause the video and put all these words in past perfect tense. Okay, the second exercise is you got to put the verbs in the brackets in the correct tense. Either it's in past simple or past perfect, depending on which action took place first. Okay, again, I want you to pause the video, do this task, don't rush, I'm here, all right? Okay, pause the video, then we're gonna check it together. If you're ready, let's check the answers. So the first one, when the accident happened that lorry was driving like a lunatic. I had never seen a lorry traveling so fast. We missed the beginning of the play because it had already started when we arrived. I didn't recognize my old teacher because we had not seen each other for 15 years. When I arrived at her house, I found that she had gone out, so nobody was there. My brother had eaten all the cakes before we got home. I understood the film because I had read the book before. Before she bought the flat, she had looked around it several times. It did not have my book because I had lost it the day before. I had studied English for 2 years before I moved to New York, and she had never seen a bear before she moved to Alaska. I have never seen a bear, and also I have never been to Alaska. All right, so let's move on. We had another task to do. So next, let me read the past perfect story for you guys. Like, where were they? What happened? What had they done? Ready? Listen to me. And of course, you can pause the video and read it by yourself. So for now, I want you to listen, and then, of course, you're gonna read it by yourself and do the task based on this information. So last night, okay, I'm starting, guys. Last night, Danny and Emily danced in a competition. They danced a salsa dance. They had practiced for 6 hours. They had practiced for 6 months before they danced in a competition. They were very good. Dan and Emily's friends were in the audience. Before that night, they had never seen Dan and Emily dance. In fact, Dan and Emily had never danced in front of anyone before the competition. After everyone had danced, the judges announced the winners. Dan and Emily won. They were the best dancers in the competition. Emily said she had never practiced so hard before. She was glad they had practiced a lot. Lucky day. Okay, so based on this information in this story, you need to answer the following questions. I'm not gonna read questions for you guys, so pause the video, read it by yourself, and we'll check it together. Only that time I'm gonna read it for you guys, okay? Pause the video. All right, I guess you're ready. The next task is the following. Okay, we have done this kind of task before, and I know that you can do it by yourself. So yes, you need to put this sentence into given sentences into negative, yes, no question, special question, and tag question forms. Okay? These are the sentences that you need to rewrite. So again, I'm not going to read it for you because I'm going to read the answers, okay? Next one. So now you need to do a gap fill exercise. So all these sentences should be in past perfect. So I'll give you as much time as you necessary. Just pause the video and do this one. Okay, so guys, I think you're ready to check your answers. Finally. So the answer for the first question would be, so let me read the first question first of all. How long had Dane and Emily practiced before the competition? Dane and Emily had practiced for 6 months before the competition. Yes, you remember. Before that night, who had seen Dane and Emily dance? Before that night, nobody had ever seen Dane and Emily dance. What happened after everyone had danced? After everyone had danced, the judges announced the winners, right? Okay, so here we have these sentences already rewritten. They had practiced for 6 hours. In negative form, it's going to be, they had not practiced for 6 hours. Yes, no question. Had they practiced for 6 hours? Special question. What had they done for 6 months? Next one. Before that night, they had never seen Dane and Emily dance. Positive one will be here. Before that night, they had seen Dane and Emily dance. Yes, no question one. Before that night, had they ever seen Dan and Emily dance? Special question one. Before that night, who had ever seen Dan and Emily dance? Tag question. Before that night, they had never seen Dan and Emily dance. Had they? And last one, they had practiced a lot. They had not practiced a lot. Yes, no question one. Had they practiced a lot? Special question. Who had practiced a lot? And tag question one. They had practiced a lot, hadn't they? And the answer for the last task is here. So, you see, all the sentences in past perfect. They had finished the game before it rained. She had saved her money for 2 years before she bought the car. I had met him before he was my boss. Tina said she had found my purse in her car. She woke up early because she had taken a new job. Okay, so it's time to do our favorite task, multiple choice question ones, right? Okay, so the first question is, so I'm not gonna read it for you guys. Read it for yourself. I'm just gonna tell you the right answer. So you have like 10-15 seconds to think, okay? So the right answer would be here. Dad said he had been 15 minutes late for the bus. So because the first action is that he was late for the bus. Okay. The first one is the correct one. Next one. Oops. All right. So the next question is, I all the ironing, so I started cleaning the windows. Oh, I read it for you guys. Past perfect. We need past perfect here. I had finished the first one. I had finished all the ironing, so I started cleaning the windows. Okay, she's really hardworking. This one. I had hoped to visit the gallery, but it's closed on Mondays, so I won't be able to go there. The first one is correct. When they got married, they each other for 15 years. Of course, here we have, when they got married, they had known each other for 15 years. Long time, actually. If I to university, I would have studied medicine. Sure. If I had gone to university, I would have studied medicine. The flowers were almost dead because no one had watered them. Right, had watered them. So pity. I was hungry. I dinner an hour before. I wasn't hungry. So yeah, he had eaten. I wasn't hungry. I had dinner an hour before. The second one is the correct one. Sue to the airport to meet her colleague, but it turned out that he a taxi and left. So it means that he hadn't had any patience to wait for her. So Sue came to the airport to meet her colleague, but it turns out that he had taken a taxi and left. The museum is by time. By that time. Okay, had the museums opened by that time? The first one is the correct one. Okay, so this is our last one. I first saw James at a party. I'm sure we, which one would be? Hadn't met, or had not met, or had not met. Okay. So yes, I first saw James at a party. I'm sure we hadn't met before. Right, the first one is the correct one. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Hopefully it was really useful for you. See you in my next videos. Bye.